Welcome to That's So Rad Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Vonksness. This is a podcast about people, their passions, their life experiences, and their stories. As writer Frederick Buechner once said, the story of any one of us is in some measure the story of us all. All of us can learn something valuable from someone else's life and their stories. Join us for another conversation where we learn, laugh, and leave, seeing our own life in new ways. What's more rad than that? Welcome to That's So Rad Podcast. I am your host, Travis. I am joined by my good friend, Everett Conaway, from living currently in Clinton, or as the locals say, Clinton, am I right? South Carolina, down the road from where I live. Welcome to the podcast, Everett.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Everett and I go back, yes, sir. Everett and I go back to probably around friendship-wise and knowing each other-wise, maybe 2014. I'm going to throw
Exactly
a ballpark.
January of 2014.
Wow. Okay, look at that.
Yeah, good call.
Exactly. Good call. Like you have that as an anniversary date or something? I feel like you're quick to...
I was like,
yep, that's
Travis,
when you and I met.
I have a heart on my calendar.
Can you carve that into something? And I'll take that
I will.
as a woodworking thing.
I did.
Okay, there we go. We're going to get more into Everett's woodworking later. But anyway, so Everett's a very good friend of mine. You know, we, as I've kind of mentioned some of the other episodes on this, not everyone on here, and we all know this about friendship, doesn't mean that I guess we're always talking or always calling. But to me, the truest and best friends I have are ones that I can just kind of pick right up. And that, I guess that would more express, I feel like, our relationship. So haven't talked for a while, not super long, but also it's been a while. So, but anyway, that's Everett. Great to have you. For those that don't know who you are, just anything you'd like to say about yourself, family, what you're up to.
Sure. So I am a Floridian by birth. I live in South Carolina now. I have a wife that I've been married to for 29 years. And I have two daughters. One of them is in Georgia, at the University of Georgia, studying there. My other one is home for the summer, but she is a nursing student in Charleston. And I have a son-in-law. My oldest daughter is married, and I love that guy. So yeah, obviously family is big. So that kind of is who I am. It's the people around me. So
yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, you're ahead of my wife and us in terms of like, you know, the chapter of just kids getting married and, you know, off to careers and things like that. And so, yeah, I'm probably be tapping your shoulder for advice as we go on in life. So,
yeah,
but that's another thing I really appreciate you as a friend, of just like, you're someone that I see has a lot of just wisdom and insight. And I always love when we talk. So, yeah, looking forward to this conversation together and to share it with others. So, but yeah, we kind of alluded already a little bit to how we met. So we met, or when we met, but we met actually at Thornwell, at the time called Home for Children, I guess. The campus has definitely changed, and you've been a big part of the change. But where at the time back then, it was very much a true sort of group home, congregate care for kids in foster care, from all the way down from toddler to aging out. And so we happened to be my wife and I moved from St. Louis down here and got a job there, and we're what they called house parents, or essentially, in a way, foster parents while you're there on duty, as we called it, to small kids, like I think toddlers through, I don't know, age 5 or something. It's not my comfort zone. Mine would have been older, but yep. And so that's where we started out, my wife and I. And then you guys, at that time, were you missionaries in 2013 still, or?
Well, we were transitioning from being overseas. We had been in missions from 2005 to about 2012-ish, rolling into 13. We were back in the States, and then during 13, I took some teams down to Argentina to build a children's home there.
Okay.
We were serving in
Yep.
a group home in Argentina, and during that 2013 year, I went down for several weeks and brought teams down, and we built another house, which oddly enough is actually
Okay.
their toddler home now. And so
Oh,
we were in
really?
that transition period during 13. And then at the very end, we moved to Thornwell. During that 2013 year, we were residing in North Carolina, at a missionary kind of
Okay.
transition facility. And then during that
Mm-hmm.
year, we came to Thornwell twice, um, met some of the people, but not everybody. But we did some field days, and just serving. We wanted to keep our girls kind of involved in service, and
Mm-hmm.
so we knew of Thornwell, so we came over and did that. And then at the end of the year, after I got back from Argentina and all that, we called Thornwell, and they offered us a job. Um, and actually, that job was to replace a vacancy left by you guys. So.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good summary of back in the day where all that went. So that was the thing before we even recorded or started recording this. I was recollecting with you of like, so you came in and replaced us there, and then later on, I had a job like for volunteer groups that I did on my way out, and you later replaced me on that. So
Yeah.
um, maybe you'll replace me as this podcast host. We also did a previous podcast on. So my wife and I have a podcast called Cultivate the Ordinary, and Everett, I feel like you were one of our early guests on that, and it was a really fun one because it was in your wood shop. Is that I always say
Yeah.
workshop, wood shop. What is it called?
Well, it is. I mean, I just call it my shop, and
Your shop. Okay.
yeah, and I love it. If I weren't sitting in this chair right now, that's where I would be. I spend most of my time when I'm not at work, which we'll go into that later, in my shop. I have a whole segment devoted to music and that sort of thing, and then I have tools and all my woodworking paraphernalia um, in there as well. So it's pretty full of stuff, but it's all really cool stuff. Hmm.
Yeah. It's an epic shop. I mean, it's an experience just going in there. One of the other things I think that with you and me, Everett, we have a lot in common in some ways of just interests or the things that kind of spark our attention. Like, I mean, you're one of the biggest music fans I know. I mean, you just, and we're going to talk more about that as we go here. But like your love of music and just discovering new bands. I mean, there's been times you've texted me like, "Oh, check these guys out," or um, our mutual love of the Holy Post podcast, which you set me up with. A lot of shared quotes. I mean, through the years, I mean, I'm a huge quote guy, but you're also a huge quote person, and just a reader, a lover of theology, studier of God, and just. But anyway, there's been a lot of as I look back through the years of just texting each other things we've read, or oh, check out this quote, or so yeah, and then yeah, just being a creative. There's a lot we've had some good talks about creativity.
Hmm.
Well, speaking of creativity and creating things that didn't previously exist, want to talk with the inventor and creator of what's become kind of in a small way famous in the small way it can, I guess, in our circle. Um, with my brother Jeremy, who, as I've said before, if you're listening to this and you've never heard about my brother Jeremy, he was in a car wreck in 2009 with his brothers, and suffered a traumatic brain injury, which left him severely disabled to the point he's fed in a tube. He's either in a wheelchair or a bed 24/7 with care 24/7. So it's really stripped his life away in many ways, and his ability to talk for one thing. So thinking of Everett and you being a creator of craft, of woodworking things and music, and converging those things, thinking about, could you conceptualize an instrument that Jeremy could play with his limited mobility, and where he has limited motion of his left leg and then his left arm, giving you that as a template, like what could you come up with, and take it from here, like the Feetar came into existence.
Well, as you say, that was quite some time ago. So if we moved here in
Mm-hmm.
14, we lived, this is going to be some inside baseball, but we lived down at the Cedar Street
Here
Apartments
we go.
for a year, the better part of a
Mm-hmm.
year. And then we moved over to the duplex. I think that you guys had lived there, maybe on
Okay.
Centennial or no. Anyway, so while we were there, that is really when all of this started. Like all of the woodworking, all of
Oh, really?
that whole, yeah, that's basically where it took off, was at the Centennial Street duplex. There was a basement that most people wouldn't go down into, because there were critters down there. It was kind of dank and all this stuff. I didn't have really any tools to speak of at the time, but I got a drill for just hanging up pictures in the house, and just a couple really basic things that I had nothing. I had nothing. And I started taking pallets because it was free wood. And there's a couple of steps in between, but I won't bore you with that. But I started making like guitar stands and things of that nature. And I would sell them. And when I would sell them, I would use that money to get a better tool or something else that I could make, something a little more elaborate. And everything that I have, that's how I got it. It
Mm.
fed into itself. Everything I've bought as far as tools was purchased with money that came from
Purchase
building things
that.
previous.
That's I love that. It also sounds like a requirement my wife would give me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
So
Uh,
this doesn't get out of hand.
so right. Um, while I was there, you brought this concept to me, and just thinking through it, it is hard, I'll be honest, to put myself in that headspace, because when I've seen it, I don't see the Feetar. It's not at my house. It's at Jeremy's house,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't really had a lot of experience with it since
Mm.
then, and that's been uh 10 years maybe, since I built it around that. Um,
Wow,
and
that long.
yeah, 9 or 10, yeah, has to be pretty close to 10 years. Sorry, I'm touching my computer and it stopped. Um, so, but so when I see it, I'm like, what in the world was I thinking? And but working through the all of the necessary stuff, having to do with Jeremy, but still trying to get the most out of uh, the instrument. Basically, what happened was I devised a way where he could strum with his foot, and we could set it up to where he would have options. Now he would have to have assistance to move it from one side to the other. But basically, we
Mm-hmm.
could set it up as a triad of notes. And it's not, the spacing is much, much wider than guitar strings. Probably, I would say, probably 2 inches between strings or something like that, so that he can get some individuality on the strings. So just trying to devise a way to do that, and yet using the very rudimentary tools that I had, as well as the wood that I had. That whole thing was
Mm-hmm.
built from pallets, which is crazy. Um, so it was all just wood that was bound for the garbage or whatever. And taking it apart, you could still see the nails that are in there from where I cut them off with the sawzall and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just making this thing, and I mean, if I do say so myself, it's beautiful. I mean, if for being
It is beautiful.
trash wood, it's turned out. I think it's all oak, um, and it is so pretty. And it really like it exists outside of myself kind of thing. I look at it, I'm like, wow, how did that happen? Um, and just the knowledge that I got to be a part of is pretty crazy to me. I don't know if that
The
answers your question at all.
it absolutely does, and I love this conversation about this because what you just said too reminds me on there's a great quote by one of the greatest inventors I think in modern times, architecturally especially, was Buckminster Fuller, who invented the geodesic dome. And one of his lines is something, so also as an engineer, one of his lines is something along the idea that if something isn't beautiful, like he knows it's not finished yet. And I
Mm.
love that, there's this convergence, not just of like, because you think engineering and science and sort of design like is a separate thing than like say aesthetics, but as an inventor and designer, he's kind of using that as sort of a litmus test for even the thing itself. I'm like, oh, I love that so much. And so then when you said that also about the Feetar, it is incredibly beautiful too. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just it is wild that it works. It's got pickups in it. It's based on the concept of like an electric guitar, where it's got pickups that are amplified through an amplifier. It can be raised and lowered depending on what how his chair is
Mm-hmm.
oriented and all of that sort of thing. So it is very functional, but also aesthetically pleasing, and it makes sound. I mean, it can be tuned as tuners on like it. It's just a big
Yeah.
guitar. I didn't
Yeah.
invent anything. I mean, the whole concept is there. I just took what was already invented and jumbled it all up to make it function for Jeremy.
That is it's amazing. And so let's pick the story back up of so it had sat dormant. So it got playing time out of the gate, and then it was like, and I always say this, it's like partly it's definitely on us as sort of Jeremy's caregivers and supporters and stuff like that, where, if we kind of don't keep something going, I mean, he can't like we're, I mean, he can ask us, but, and then as life gets busy and kids are, so it did fall by the wayside. It's this giant, I mean, I know we have caregivers at his house that see this. They had no idea what it was. I mean, and a lot of people wouldn't know. I mean, you have to kind of see, okay, there's strings on it and all this stuff, but like, what is this giant thing you have on display in one of his rooms? And so anyway, what kind of was transpired this last season, I want to say for me, it's like 6 months ago. I may be butchering the time here, but my wife and I went on a cruise, and it was called the String Break Cruise, and there was some epic bands we love, and one of them was Carbon Leaf, which is one of my favorite all-time bands. And I remember I was having some conversation. I got to meet the lead singer and some of the other band members, and I just shared how inspiring their music has been to us. And Jeremy at that time was suffering from, a scary bout of pneumonia in the hospital and could lose him in a case like that. And I remember going, and I think by God's, sort of gifting and wink, I was at the same food court as their lead singer, Barry, and he was at the table, and I sat down with him, and I kind of awkwardly invited myself into his presence, and he entertained talking for a while, and he did a little selfie for Jeremy. And then we had a couple more subsequent conversations on this week of the cruise, and at one point I had shared with him the video of Jeremy playing the Feetar, or maybe that came later in an email, but one of their guitarists I told him about Jeremy, and I showed him jamming that Feetar. And he's like, dude, that's one of the dopest things I've seen in my entire life. Like, it was just like, and I remember texting you that, like, you've been to Carbon Leaf, and, they're great musicians that have had a national sort of presence. And so like to say that and to be like, wow, be wowed by that instrument. It was like, I knew that'd be cool to share with you. All that to say, I came back really kind of inspired again about just music. And I haven't played an instrument since high school. And I just thought, it'd be fun to get that Feetar jamming again. And I remember looking over at Jeremy and just saying, like, man, I'd love for you to start playing this thing again, and I'll try to help get it going with you, and we need to fix it up. And he just spelled out to me, like, he'll do it if I play an instrument. And like I said in a previous podcast we had with Danny Smith, who's a mutual friend, I said that, okay, well, I looked up what's the easiest stringed instrument to learn, and one of them was the ukulele. So away I go with Amazon and ordering a ukulele. That's my assignment. Anyway, fast forward, and we had an experience where, and we're going to get into more of this later, the band you're in, Wasper Jaws, let's do a jam session. We're filming a documentary for Jeremy, which we'll talk about that in the future. But we had this amazing afternoon of a jam session. That is all time one of my highs, probably of my life. What was it like? So you've created this instrument that feels out of body, or, almost this thing of like, it still mesmerizes you in a way. And then, you've played along with it, or you've kind of helped Jeremy strum this up. But then for you to bring your band and you're on bass and you guys are playing some of your songs and Jeremy's jamming on the Feetar in your midst. I mean, take us into that.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. I have talked to people before about just playing music with other people. That is an experience that is, there's a lot of things that you can do to connect with people on different
Mm.
levels. Athletics is one of those things. Spirituality is one of those. There's just a lot of different ways
Mm-hmm.
for romantic connections with people.
Yep.
There's a lot of different connections that you have. But the playing in, music, to where everybody's playing their part and it forms a whole, is so special, and it
Mm.
really connects individuals on just a totally different level. And so, when I'm playing with Danny and Ashley and Dave, it's very, very special to me, because
Mm.
everybody is contributing, and what we're making together. And so to bring Jeremy and then you on ukulele, rocking it, into that process was really, really special. And so the fact that Jeremy is, um, people see the limitations that he has, uh, but he is, at that moment, he is a fully contributing member of what we're doing, and expressing
Yes.
himself just like we're expressing ourselves, was really just so
Yes.
special, so special.
That's so well said. I, I love what you already said about just like the experience of without words in that case, or whatever you're creating, you're strumming, you're, making this thing together, and you're just like coexisting in that space musically. That, like, for those that aren't musicians, I mean, I've always wondered about that, like, what is that like when you're jamming together, just like, just playing. I mean, like you've articulated well, of just that bonding, that kind of union, that camaraderie in that moment. It's probably hard to even put words to that. I mean,
Yeah,
but
it is, and I
yeah.
don't want to overstay. I don't want to be all weird about
Well,
it.
well,
Um,
I don't think it is. I mean, I recently came across this line of, like, was talking about, like, someone said, not necessarily in that context, but like said this space was too sacred for words. I
mm,
know you're not necessarily saying that about that, but like there are moments in time that I think the absence of words, there's something deeper too.
mm. Well,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, it just is. It is very unique and very special to be able to do that, to make music, to kind of be at that moment for those 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you're playing a song. Um,
mm-hmm.
you're doing exactly the same. You're focused on the
Yeah.
same thing, and you're bringing it to the world, and it's just very special. It's very special. That sounds all
Yeah.
frou frou,
Yeah.
but it is cool.
No, I mean, it is cool. And I, last part of what you said that I just really, really love is that, um, how you describe, like, so the rest of life, like we're all helping Jeremy. He's contributing, like he spells words and stuff and communicates in that way. But the Feetar for me, part of the power of it and part of the power of your invention and however all it came about, like in your brain, is that you created this thing that Jeremy becomes on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not words, there's not the limitations that, okay, I need you to spell this. I need you to get me to your level. It is level. Like the Feetar is a level playing field for him. And I
Mm-hmm.
honestly, Everett, can't think of, I don't know what else out there that is. I mean, not in a way that he can participate at the same time with. That's the magic of it.
Mm. Yeah,
So, yeah.
it is very special. It is very special. And I'm grateful to have been along for the ride. I mean, seriously, I
Yeah.
cannot. When I look at it, I'm like, I cannot say, well, there it is, everybody. Look at what I did, because I just don't feel it. It would be disingenuous of me to just gobble up all that credit. I'm just grateful to have been part
Well,
of that process.
yeah. Well, it was, however it came about, whether some of it was just gifted onto you to be the ambassador to share it, or you are an inventor, you are gifted with creativity and brilliant design and stuff like that. So I mean, there is that as well. But it is, special is the right word, and it was, and so in the show notes I'm going to have at least a link or two of jamming again on that thing, just to share. Can't get enough of that.
Yeah, definitely post those. Post something else too. So I was gonna bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
So we get Jeremy's newsletter when he
Mm-hmm.
sends it out. We get it mailed to us.
Yep.
Um, I would encourage you. Were talking about Jeremy, talking about some of his past, all of the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
His newsletter is so good. It's unbelievable. We love it when we get it in the mail. We're always excited to read it. So if somebody watching this, it doesn't get Jeremy's newsletter, if there's a way that they can get that done, it's a very good insight into what you're talking about, but it gives a lot more detail, a lot more nuance, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, that appreciate it. That's a great shout out to that. And I'm going to I will share I think the hard copy version of that is kind of maxed out to capacity of what he's able to mail out. My brother Dan, who takes that over, but I think it was transitioning to digital versions or sign up. So
Mm.
I will look at what that is and share that link to at least sign up for the digital version of that. So yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
because it's
for
so good,
the shout
so
out.
good.
Yeah, that's great. So well, let's kind of continue this conversation a little bit more around this. So the band, though, that day, Wasperjaws, repping the Wasperjaws swag. Let's Okay, there we are.
Yeah, there it is.
Um,
I designed this one, obviously
did
based
you?
on the Nirvana shirt. Yeah, see the little
Oh yeah, yeah.
wash. Yeah,
That's
so.
that's so rad, Everett. Okay, I haven't
Hey.
used that in this podcast much, but that's so rad.
It is rad. It's the only one in existence. We need to get more made, but this is the only one that
Oh, is
exists.
it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Limited release here. Okay. So bring us into describe Wasper Jaws, musically, kind of what it is, where it's been, and how you got involved.
Well, for a big chunk of it, I would refer back to the episode you did with Danny, because he does talk. I don't want to tread too much ground that he's already trod. But at any rate, during COVID, as he mentioned, I had so I play bass. I have played bass since I was about 14. Played in a band back in the day. Played at church, off and on for a long, long time. And then I stopped playing bass and started playing guitar, predominantly acoustic guitar, which I still do play. But my brother-in-law contacted me, and he made me a bass. And he
Wow.
sent it up here with via my parents for Christmas. whenever that was, 2020,
Okay.
2020 Christmas, I think it must have been what it was. And so then I had a bass because before I didn't have one. The bass that I had is in Argentina. I didn't bring it home with me. And so I didn't even have one here. Got the bass. Danny's like, hey, we've been working on these songs. I was like, hey, I just got this bass. And so went over to his house and I thought to myself, why did I stop playing this instrument? Because this is the greatest
Mm.
instrument that exists. And I love it so much. So, so much. I love playing it more than guitar, all of it.
Okay, so what is it about the bass that in your mind is like the best instrument?
You know,
Makes it
I don't know, but I like that it's kind of not out front, and it's just kind of holding down the beat, and there's a lot of exploration that can happen. It can kind of steer the song in a way that is not ham-fisted. It's kind of like it can make some
mm-hmm.
subtle changes, and it's just fun. It's just so fun, and I don't know. I had played it. It was kind of formative for me musically. I had played piano as a kid and saxophone in middle school. So it wasn't my first instrument, but it was my first cool instrument, I guess. And then so like I said, when I was around 14, I started playing with my best friend. He was taking guitar lessons at the time. So it was just so that he and I could play some music together. He already had guitar nailed down, so got a bass. And then I took lessons, um, bass lessons, and then he and I actually were in a band together and all of that kind of stuff. Um, so let me jump back on to where we were going. So Jaws. So
Mm-hmm.
Danny called, said, "Hey, bring that shiny new bass over here and let's play some songs." So went over there, loved it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That day, I recorded just on my phone what they were playing. Came home,
Mm-hmm.
wrote bass lines for it, just kind of played along with it. Um, then we would get back together, practice, get back together, practice, over and over again. And then we are like, we should record these. And so then set up his living room as a studio. Basically, it was a mess for a while. Um, and we recorded, and the process was so fun. Um, it's very DIY when you listen to it. It's all very homemade music. Um, so Dave Marley, he sat at the console. He would play it. I would sit on the couch with a pair of headphones on, and we would butt heads about what we wanted to hear. We would just it was just a back and forth, very lovingly. I love Dave Marley, but we differed in the way we like things done. And so when we were able to
mm-hmm.
compromise and bring it together, I think we just really came up with something special. It was so much fun,
Hmm.
and we're in the process of uh, I could go record it any day. I'm ready. I know that they've already recorded um, tracks for 4 songs, I think. So I gotta go put my part down. Um, so
Cool.
yeah. So
Yeah, because
anyway,
you're having an album release is coming up this fall.
that's what I hear. I heard it first
That's what
on
I.
your podcast. uh,
That is hilarious. Okay, so because I just did an episode, that seems to be a trend. I just did an episode with my son, the previous one to this one, Dre, and during the course of that interview, talking about he was going to go on a summer Nicaragua trip and mission trip. And I start to talk about that. Well, yeah, you're going to Nicaragua coming up. He's like, well, actually, Dad, I'm not. And I was like, well, I'm hearing this as a recording a podcast. I mean, you heard it listening to it, but anyway, so that's it's
that's
funny.
funny.
So
But
Danny was
yeah, so
saving it for the yeah.
yeah, he wasn't gonna tell me, but it was but it's been super fun. We've played at a couple of places live. It's always very, very special. But it's just fun. We're just I enjoyed it.
Well, I've been a big fan from afar. I've had the last two albums, and knowing you guys personally as friends, it makes it like way more cool and just really impressive too. And just like, and then I got to go to one of like Danny and Ashley put on like, I don't know what you guys they call them, but like people outside in their lawn and do these musical jams. And like there was one, I don't know, several months ago that you guys played and some other artists played, and like it was
Yeah, no,
so
that wasn't
like I
even.
think that was the first time I saw you guys live.
It was so fun, and yeah, so Abe Partridge played,
Mm-hmm.
and so we played to open up for him. Um,
That's
but
right.
that was so special, so special. If you don't know who Abe Partridge is, look him up. Listen to his music, phenomenal. Listen to his podcast that he's done
Mm-hmm.
about snake handling churches, phenomenal. It's all so good. He's such an interesting guy, super nice guy. Turns out we met him. I've actually met him prior to that, but got to spend some time with him at Danny's
Mm.
house. Great guy, great musician, great songwriter. Just a treasure of a person. Go
Yeah,
check him out.
that's awesome. Yeah, another Everett just shouting out. Just people
There
are
you
getting like there's gonna be recipes. There's gonna be who knows what else to.
All kinds of stuff.
No, I'm with you. First time I heard him and like mix of brilliance, quirky, like just like you're like this guy is mesmerizing. I mean, and just
Hmm.
like wow. And so now you don't do any of the vocals at all, right? Like I didn't think I saw you have a mic.
Nah,
Is that
I
by
think I
choice or by
yeah.
Dave's heavy hand?
Oh no 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 no.
Everett, you will not.
Not at all.
I'm
It's not that way.
okay.
Um, but no, I just don't. It's hard for me to sing and to play bass. I can sing and play
Mm-hmm.
guitar, but I can't, it's hard for
See,
me to
I,
sing and
I
play
was
bass.
just going to ask you about that. I was just going to ask you about that. I don't know how common it is for a lead singer to also, or well, in some cases, I guess a lead singer to play bass versus. But I was going to ask you, is that harder? And you already said yes for you. Is
For
that
me, it is.
because the, but is it because of the rhythm? Like you're trying to keep rhythm and sing?
I think
Because I
what it
know
is
like,
for me is that for this is for me is that playing guitar is like coloring inside the lines, right? And so
okay,
you can it's very structured, boom 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 boom, and so I'm playing guitar on the rhythm the same as the
okay,
vocals. But when I'm playing bass,
okay,
a lot of times I play between those beats. I'm playing offbeat or I'm playing
okay, okay.
yeah, I'm filling in all over the place, and I'm not really playing. Even though the bass kind of holds that beat down, I'm not really playing on the beat everywhere. But I mean, it can
Gotcha.
be
That makes
done.
sense.
I mean, there's like
Right.
Mike Herrera
But
from MXPX plays bass and does
well,
a great job
I
singing
was
bass.
gonna say like what other famous sort of bands is the lead singer, the bass player, and like MXPX? But anyone else come to mind? I mean, like major acts that you know, like
Oh gosh, put me on the spot. There are some.
yeah,
Rush, I guess.
okay,
Geddy Lee,
okay,
he sings. Yeah.
there you
Um,
go. That's a
Primus.
good reference.
There you go. Les
Okay,
Claypool, Primus, he sings. Um,
man, look at you just stepping it up here on the spot.
yeah, I went from Rush to Primus to MACX. I've
Smashing
got it all covered.
Pumpkins. No, does Billy Court? Does he play it? Smashing Pumpkins? Is he just a vocalist?
I think he plays
I'm just
guitar.
trying to. I'm just throwing things. These, and I'm just
Yeah,
hail marrying. Like,
there you go.
okay, so I'll stop doing that. Well, as we wind this part of it down musically, like you've also been in other bands as well. You kind of alluded to that. That goes back to high school, or like where did
No,
that whole draw, or
it
when did that
was
start?
well, okay. So yeah, during high school, we do. Well, they probably don't exist anymore, but we have tapes of us playing um, songs
Nice.
in my buddy's little garage. It was. I mean, it was
And
what it was.
the Jack the Jacksonville scene was.
It was hopping then.
Saturated with. Oh man, yeah, I bet. Back in the
Um,
what mid '90s. When were you in high school?
yeah, I graduated in '94.
Oh man, right in the as grunge is just starting to really
Yeah,
move
I
on.
have
It's
heard it
kind of
said, and I agree with this, that 1994 was the
mm-hmm.
90th of all the 90s years. That was
The
peak
90th
90s.
of all.
Yeah, it was peak
Wow.
90s. Look at the albums that came out in '94. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. And every time you turn around, you're like, that one came out in '94? Uh, Soundgarden released an album, Green Day, but Beastie Boys was Ill
Okay.
Communication that year.
Okay.
Tom Petty and
Okay.
the Heartbreakers, which Wildflowers has a great,
Wow.
because it goes on and on and on.
And then in '94 you're still getting the end wave of hair bands, right? I mean, isn't like is Van Halen? I mean, aren't some of these guys still phasing
Um,
down, or I mean, is it
to some
the handoff
degree,
between? Okay,
I think it had
because I
happened
thought
a
okay
little earlier than that. I
a
think
little
that,
bit before.
yeah, you
Okay,
had like Refused had an album that came out that you know, kind of that album transitioned basically from hair metal to some degree to punk, and even there was
hmm
already punk, but it just kind of pushed it forward
yep,
to some of that. I don't know. Just it was good. Good
yeah.
stuff. Go
I
listen to
love that
Refused.
the 90th. What is it? The line again? The 90th of all the 90s.
Yeah,
94.
the 90th of all the years of the 90s.
I wonder if that
Uh,
holds true beyond music. I bet it does. I wonder, like fashion, movies. I wonder. That's interesting to think about.
let's go with
It was like the
yes,
pivot
because it was
point
just
of.
such a cool year.
I'm gonna say yes. What was the
That was also the
Jordan
year we
shoe
lost
that?
Kurt Cobain that year.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, 1994. Now we're all gonna just Google '94 after this.
Oh, just live
I
in it.
know
It's
I am.
such a good year. I have a playlist on my phone on Spotify. It's just 1994, and it's
Is it
got
really? Of
yeah, and
just
it's just
albums that came out that year?
yeah. I've got a
Wow.
few that were 95, like the beginning of 95 that I tossed in there just because I wanted to hear them. But yeah, 94. It was loaded. That time frame between yeah, the first quarter of '95 back to '94 was so good.
So this is random, but we're going random, and we do that. And you are leading the way, and I'm gonna jump in wholeheartedly because I love random. But I was at because now it is surreal to walk around, and for quite a while now we're in the era of all the teens now, or it's the '90s. I mean, it looks like '94. I mean, or '90, whatever that span, but just like the jeans and the baggy plaids and girls and everybody. But and we were at the kids had a thing at youth group, and there was this girl on stage wearing I think it was a 1994 t-shirt. And I was trying to do the math because obviously if you're a teen and you're wearing that shirt, there's something that you feel is cool of whatever. I mean, why that year, why, you're dressed like it. So, but then I started to do the math of, okay, if I was a senior in 98, let's do the math of, so back to 94, how many years prior would that put me like, so 94, that's like 31 years. So for me, that would be rocking a shirt from like 1967.
Cool.
No. And I'm going, would I have
I,
thought, and maybe I'm
I
overthinking this, but like, would I be
no, I
rocking a
don't think so.
67 shirt?
I
Yeah,
mean,
I think I'm right in the timeline here.
I had in high school, I had like a Jimi Hendrix Monterey Pop Festival shirt where he's burning the guitar. I had that shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Pink Floyd Momentary Lapse of Reason shirt. All of that is in that era. And so I
Yeah.
had like music band, like band shirts from, about that far ahead of time, I guess. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and people,
You
it
know,
kind of melted into people wearing. Now, I didn't wear bell bottoms. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there is. And I didn't do it. But they did come back,
there is something
around
wrong.
that time. Oh,
Yeah.
there 100% something wrong with it. But they came back
Yeah, for sure.
during that time period, and there was a lot of stuff that kind of made. I think it was a little closer to like the next chunk, like around 97 to 2000, right there. People, were getting thrift store, vintage thrift store clothes started coming out from that era and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. One more random thing, because this crossed my mind actually about a story you and I have. I can't believe I forgot to say this, or we didn't say this at the beginning. But as we're kind of looking back at the early mid 90s, now this precedes it movie-wise timeline, but Back to the Future.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going now. So at the children's home at Dornwell, we had a and you're the right person to discuss this with. So quick story, but we had a Back to the Future themed party for all the employees and I guess the staff that worked with the kids. And I guess they did that every year and kind of made a big party. But that year that was the theme. And I remember I was like, how can we do Back to the Future without a DeLorean parked here? I mean, I was like, right? It's like, and I remember back then, like, I don't think Craigslist is nearly what it was even then, because that was preceding Marketplace and whatever. But I remember I just started Craigslist spamming, like, I think, like almost like a wanted or DeLorean wanted. And sure enough, a guy from Charlotte responds, and and I explained we're at this children's home and we're kind of having this thing at this, and he said, I'll drive it down from Charlotte. And so we have this DeLorean parked to the party, and I mean he didn't even accept, it wasn't, we paid him just a little bit, I think, from the children's home did, but it wasn't much. And I just remember it was a pretty magical moment. But then also watching him just like scared to death somebody's going to touch his car. I mean,
there's all these kids.
So well, the kids weren't even in school, but I didn't think they were in school, and he didn't know that. But I think at any moment he thought like a bell would ring, and like hundreds of kids are going to rush my DeLorean and fingerprint.
I'm feverishly trying to find a picture of that day. I know that I have them.
Everett, right here. Everett, this was made for this moment. This is in the podcast studio.
Look at there.
Now, I don't have a picture of you. You have one of us together, I think. But
I do have one of us together.
That's me.
I'm dressed as the flux capacitor.
And what you can't really see is the knockoff Air Jordan 1s I'm wearing to try to. Anyway.
So good. I was dressed as the George McFly.
That's right.
The nerdy dad. Nerdy dad George McFly. Right.
It was amazing. Oh my gosh.
So
because you already have kind of the glasses that
it was just so fun.
It was fun. I will lastly say too about that guy though, as you're maybe still looking at the picture, is
that's right.
I gathered that in his story, he had either, I don't know if had been in foster care, I feel like just what I could gather being around him just a little bit was that he faced some childhood trauma. I mean, he was kind of given hints, and I think even at one point as he walked around, it almost looked like he was ready to cry. And I think that's probably partly why he came. He's like, okay, this is a children's home. I'll support this thing. And I remember him almost saying something as he kind of just was looking off, like almost like in the distance, just thinking, like brought back to childhood. He said, if something like this would have existed back when I was younger. And that's all he said. It was very cryptic. And he didn't want to go further. And I was going to put, but it was just like, wow. So anyway, that was a kind of interesting, maybe there's something redemptive too of him. Anyway, being there.
Yeah.
But
it's so.
Well, we kind of got off in a
on
90s and
the
then back to the
adult.
80s thing there. But
Yeah.
like, let's let's go back to music for a while, and then we're going to kind of go from there to a couple, kind of other of your interests, and then wind this thing down.
Okay.
Music itself, like you and I have a common, sort of love of music. You have I would say, a much more a knowledge, but just probably even a bigger love. But what does music just sort of do for you? Just because you're always creating things in your shop, and music is always a part of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just really love it for all, the reasons that I mentioned, the creative side of music, but also this is a dirty word, but like the consumption side of music. It connects people, right? So like I'm going down the street the other day in Greenville. My wife and I were there, and a guy walked past me with a dogwood shirt. And I was like, that guy likes dogwood, which is a California punk rock band from the 90s. Um, Out of everybody in Greenville that day, there were probably two guys that knew who Dogwood was, and it was me and that guy wearing the Dogwood shirt. And if he had not been wearing that, I wouldn't have noticed, and um, I wouldn't have even noticed that guy walking past me. But so there's this connectivity that happens. Um, you know, Speaking of quotes, C.S. Lewis talks about that friendships begin when one person says, "Oh, you too," kind of thing. And
Yeah.
when you find somebody that likes the quirky, weird stuff that you do, or just the style of music that you like, where most people that are around you kind of turn their nose up to it, you're like, "Oh, this person, they get it. I get it. They get it," and we
Mm-hmm.
can bond over
Yep.
that. So I think that there's a lot of power in that. Um, and I don't know, I just love it. I love music. There's it's been used a lot now, but kind of a motto that I saw on a t-shirt once, and I thought it was funny. It says, angry music for happy people. And I'm a generally very happy person, but I like heavy music. I like music that
Mm.
elicits a big response. I find a lot, it's very cathartic for me, and it's just, I don't know, I find it very pleasing. Um, so
That's
there's
interesting.
just, it kind of it hits me in certain places, and I really like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really interesting about the cathartic thing of, like, sort of tapping into what the energy, sometimes maybe the rage. I mean, I also think maybe as you're like chopping and cutting wood, there's something like, you're, but, um, but, so you're always like, I love, sometimes I feel like on Facebook, whatever, Instagram, you show like on your turntable, you've got it kind of lit up in a cool way, and like latest albums you're spinning or what you just got. Like, what are you spinning lately, music wise?
Well, so I knew we were going to be talking about music or what. So I kind of went to the shop and I just dug out. I have a lot of records. I have a lot of music that I listen to. I did not. I only brought five, um,
Mm.
and they're for very specific reasons. But this in no way encapsulates um, all of what I enjoy. And it's not like these are my top, and these are going to be recent.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are going to see this and go, "Well, what
Yep.
about this?" And I
Right.
chose not to bring. Pink Floyd's "Wish You Were Here" is one of the greatest albums of all time. Okay, I'll grant you that.
Yep.
Um, I like Leonard Skinner's Second Helping. I like, there's a lot of really old classic music, but these are not it. These are newer and they're a little more obscure, which is maybe why I brought them. So this one I just got last week. It just came out. Well, it came out a little while ago, but I just got my copy. So I think one of the best bands. They're done. They wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
I went to actually me and Danny, I think. Yeah, Danny went with me. We went to see them on their farewell tour. We went to Columbia to see them. Me Without You is one of the best bands
Okay.
that has been. And so this is their first live um, album. So it's they did it right. It was a lot of fun because they have the track listing in here, but it was in an envelope. And it said, don't open this envelope until you listen to the whole thing, because they wanted you to experience it like you would a concert. When you go to a concert, they don't hand
Oh,
out a
that's cool.
bulletin and say, here's the songs you're going to hear tonight. They play songs and
Right.
you're like, oh, I love this song. So they wanted you to be able to experience that even post mortem. Like they're done. They're not playing
Mm-hmm.
shows anymore. But this was a way for them to go into your house and replicate it as well as they could. And it was
That's very
fun.
cool.
It's you know it was a it's sounds unbelievable. Some of the best live music I've heard. Volume 2 drops this Friday. They're gonna put 3 volumes of these live albums out, which is so good. So that was good. Speaking of angry, heavy music, this is one of my favorite really heavy albums. Is Norma Jean's All Hail. So good. This is like a roller coaster ride. When you start it, listen to the beginning of it. The music kind of goes up like you're going up a hill, and then you pause, and then you drop into the rest of the album, and it is chaos, and it is so good. Norma Jean's All Hail. Very good
Norma
stuff.
Jean. Yes.
Norma Jean. One of my favorite heavy albums. Although I like many. I like Chariot. I like 68. I like all kinds of stuff. Emery and yeah. This is a country album. This was when it came out. Whatever year that was. This was my album of the year. I cannot get enough of it. And this is Ian No. He's from Kentucky. He just released after a long time a copy of or a cover of Bruce Springsteen, and it's very good. But this album right here is tremendous. You may have heard me say country and hit the skill. Ian No. So check him out. This is a great album. This guy is so prolific. He's got like 75 albums, not that many, but he's got a lot. I'm being hyperbolic. But he has more than most people should. For whatever reason, this is my favorite of his, and this is one of my favorite albums. And that is the Damien Jurado, and this is The Horizon Laughed. I think it's the name of it. Yeah, The Horizon Just Laughed is the name of this album. And it's so good. It's so good. Sit with this album. Do yourself a favor. If you're going to listen to one of these that I'm showing you, do this one because it is so good. It sounds nothing like the rest of these. It's real mellow, real slow, real good. And this band has a few albums out. This is my favorite of theirs, and I just think this is a perfect album. I think that every song on here is really, really good. And this is The Decemberist, and this is The King is Dead. And it is a really solid album. Every song on here makes you feel a certain kind of way, and I really like it. So I kind of these were somewhat random, but these are ones that I go back to often because I really like those bands and I like those particular albums. And the Me Without You, they have several, and I have all of theirs, but this is good because it kind of brings a lot of across their whole catalog, brings it into a live format. It's really good. So there you go.
Very cool.
There's my show.
That's a great sampling of. Yeah, no, it's great.
And I'm showing these because nobody out there listening can stop me. So this is what I want to do all day long, every day, and nobody wants to listen to me talk about it. So I do it here because I can't hear your protests, people out there. So
you got a platform to just do it. You did it,
yeah,
and deal with it. People.
It is done.
So there you go. Ian No.
Ian No.
You didn't know about him.
That's right.
You need him in your life.
Listen.
Oh, so check some of that out. Man, very cool. All right. So, well, I know there's a clear, great segue to go from there to the shop, but you do definitely, we've talked about like how much music is part of the background of that as you're building and doing stuff. Let's talk a little bit about kind of in this final segment of just stuff that you're doing, your passions, things that you're kind of bringing light to the world. One of them, a big one, is woodworking and your kind of business around that. Talk a little bit about that. Business got started, what it is, and what you're kind of doing with that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, probably at around 2000 and 16 or so, is kind of when it started. Just tinkering around with wood, and just making stuff. I made there's things in my house. The very first thing that I made and gave to my wife was this frame, hangs above our door still, in the other room. And I was like, wow, that was really a lot of fun. And then I think I made her a spice rack, and just I was like, this is just great. I love just making stuff, and it was all uh, pretty simple stuff. But as I mentioned, I would if I could sell guitar stands or whatever I could, little art things I was making, then I would just roll that into buying tools and supplies and that sort of thing. Um, and then we bought this house. It must have been 2016 because we bought this house that I'm in now in 2017, and then I remodeled it while we were still working at Thornwell, and we weren't living here at the time, and I remodeled the house, and and then I remodeled the shop was just a little building, no floor, there's no floor. It was in rough shape. I took it down to just to the studs, and then built that back as a shop, and then added the
Hmm.
an additional piece onto the back. So it's just accumulated over the last, I don't know, 8, 10 years, which is crazy that is that right? That is right. That it's only been that much.
Wow.
Um,
Jeez.
and so I've all of, I mean, I have an Instagram account that has all of my woodworking. Actually, I haven't done this, but you could go start scrolling backwards and see how it's kind of, you could make it devolve, I guess,
Hmm.
to some degree. Um, but I make a wide variety of things. I love making expressions of stuff and just taking different woods and colors and putting that all together, making just different items that people can use, they can take home to their house, and it something for them to enjoy and use, and
Hmm.
and and so and that way I kind of get to participate. You know, the table
Right.
that I'm sitting at right now, I made this table. Um, Years ago. And my girls,
Hmm.
we've shared many, many meals around this table, done homework at this table. My wife and I sit here every night and have dinner together, and this is meaningful. And I made this, and that's
Mm.
great. But there's other people who are sitting at tables that I made, and they're
Hmm.
building memories around something, and I may never see these people again, but in some
Right.
in some way, I've got to leave like a little fingerprint in those memories, in their home,
Yeah.
in their daily doings, and that's super special to me. That someone would
Yeah. Yeah.
think enough about something that I made with my hands that they would buy it and display it or use it or
Hmm.
whatever they do with it. And so,
Right.
like I said, it's been kind of growing. Um, and last year I bought a lathe, and that has been so fun, just to kind of learn that. I really wanted to do that. I think we're going to talk in a few minutes about coaching baseball, but I started coaching baseball, and we had two seniors this past season, and I turned a bat out of wood that came from the Thornwell campus, mounted it to a board, presented it to them, and had this thing. And it's just very, very special to be able to do that. But that idea is what kind of spawned the idea of me wanting to get a lathe and start learning how to turn.
Hmm.
So fortunately, I've been able to learn a lot of different facets of woodworking, and what that entails, and I've been able to make a lot of stuff, and it's super fun. I'm going to do I usually do like craft shows in the fall. Um, so over the summer, when I'm away, my day job is I work at a school. We can talk about that if you want. But so it's been summer break. So during summer break, I just feverishly make as much stuff as I can so that during the fall festivals and stuff, I have things to put out on a table.
Mm.
And so I've been making a lot of things. And this year I've got into a lot of stuff that I've enjoyed greatly. I brought some visuals if you want to see. I have more show and tell. But it just
Bring it up.
turning things and on the lathe. Well, then I'll show you. So I've been doing a lot of bowls. I have a ton of bowls. And I made some when Hurricane Helene came through. Um, I was able to harvest some of the wood just from around town. I picked up some pecan in a ditch in the road behind us. I got some holly from a guy had cut one had fallen in his yard and he cut it up, put it at the road. I brought some of that home. I got hickory from the Thornwell campus and uh, a big piece of red elm from a friend of mine's house. So that's not what I have here, but I do have some bowls that I was able to turn with that. But these are some bowls that I've turned recently. I believe that this is orange asage I picked up from somewhere. I did not harvest this wood. I got it from somebody, but I turned this and I just think it is so cool looking. These are all like stress cracks in the wood and stuff like that, and it's just really pretty color and um, that sort of thing. I also learned how to do segmented bowls, which is a lot of work.
Mm.
This one
Oh, that's
had
cool.
yellow heart, purple heart. There's cherry and walnut in there, and it's got this yellow. This is walnut and yellow heart. Run through
I
this.
love that.
Um,
This is a reminder if you're listening to this podcast on Apple, bump over to YouTube. That's so rad and the full visual.
oh yeah, you can see it. I don't often watch podcasts, but maybe I should. I'll show you a couple other things. So, are you going to interrupt me and tell me to stop doing this?
Nope. Nope, you're
Okay.
good.
Here, let me stand up real quick. So, when I got a lathe, one of the things I wanted to do was to turn um, nativity scenes. And just in the last few weeks over the summer break, I've been able to do just that. So these look like frontier people, but I kind of like the expression of this. But this is Mary and Joseph with his little hat. Um, so this is paddock wood. It's kind of a reddish, orangish color. And then this is a black palm. Look at the grain, if you can see this. See the green in that? So this is palm wood. But that's Mary and Joseph, and then this is little baby Jesus in his little manger. The manger is actually made out of olive wood from Bethlehem. I only have about, I don't know, just a few more inches of this,
That's
but
wild.
yeah, it's so pretty. The grain that runs through there, you can see the end grain there. Um, so I'm gonna have just a few of these that are made from Bethlehem uh, olive wood, and then here's the whole thing there. So this is the little house, uh, and it lights up. So there you go.
Oh, nice.
So it's
Very
yeah,
cool.
it's what I do. It's fun. I enjoy doing it.
What One of the things that came to my mind as you were describing all this stuff and talking about it is it seems like you find a lot of meaning in the material and not just the output of what it is. So like, which I think is fascinating, and it adds a dimension to your creations. I'm not saying in every case but like where like this was hurricane, this once in 1,000-year storm knocks trees down, causes all this damage, harvesting that to make bowls. I mean, Bethlehem, wood for the, what that means for then the manger scene and stuff like that. I mean, it's like, that's pretty cool. I mean, that sort of material meaning too.
Hmm.
I mean, is that something that you kind of often think about or you're kind of also looking for?
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes this hobby kind of addictive is that, like, okay, we'll go back to this bowl right here. Okay, when I first picked this piece of wood up, it was pretty, but it was real dark brown, and it didn't look anything like this. Once I started turning it, it started turning yellow, and I was just astonished. And so I really like the fact that you can get into a piece of wood and just find so much beauty in it, and so much artistry that I didn't do. I mean, I didn't make this wood. I just took this piece of wood and made it into this
Right.
shape. But the artistry just
Right.
in the wood itself, like I can take this bowl and like it reflects the light. Almost like those stickers that kind of change shape, but you got a Spider-Man and he's like, rah, 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 you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And with the light, kind of, this bowl does that, because that's what the wood does. And I think that that's amazing. So it's kind of addictive to say, oh, what is this going to look like once it's turned and I can see what's
Hmm.
inside of it, kind of thing.
Oh,
So
that's
it's a
cool.
lot, it's fun
Yeah,
and it's
because the process of creation reveals something you don't yet see, or it's going to, and then that's I love that. Well, thanks for taking us behind the scenes of your artisan craft working in the shop. So, um, amazing creations I'm seeing every day on Instagram and all of that. So where can people find you? And we'll put links on the show notes for that too.
so probably Instagram is the best. Six interval designs on Instagram. I do have a website, sixinterval.com. Um, and then on Facebook as well at Six Interval Designs, all of that. And we can, like you said,
Okay,
we can have links to that stuff.
sweet. Okay, cool. Okay, so because you've given links to everybody else's stuff, I'm like, we are giving links to your stuff. All right, so here we go. So final home stretch. I just love these as kind of reflective questions, as pondering back, looking back on life. Um, what things in your life, Everett, have been that you feel like would be most formative in shaping you to where you are now?
Well, I think that I don't know. I think about like my parents and grandparents, how they just poured a lot into who I am, and kind of
Mm,
have supported me, have just kind of paved a way for me, spiritually and otherwise, to become who I am. So I think that, and as I said at the beginning, just family and those connections and people I'm
mm-hmm.
surrounded by, are very critical and important to who I am as a person.
Very cool. Do you think back to, because you grew up in Jacksonville, right?
Mhm.
That's, you were born and raised, like up to, I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, like, I don't know, I think of a lot from me, coming from North Dakota and sort of how much the land shaped me. Did the ocean, I mean, was there geography in sort of some of your story as that kind of like as a, like, I don't know, living, in a place like that where, um, and maybe not. I'm just kind of curious too
No,
if
I
like
think so.
location had it.
I think so, because like I go back now to Florida and feel that
Mm-hmm.
connection to like going out to the ocean and doing all that kind of stuff. So I do think that there
Mm-hmm.
is some importance there,
Yeah.
um to the place
Yeah.
where I grew up.
Yeah. It probably, I think why it hit my mind even asked that too is we were in a conversation recently about, is the anniversary of the accident, I believe yesterday, at least at the time of this recording in July here. And my brother, who's right now in Colorado, who was one of the ones in the accident, talked about like just the trigger of the Western breeze, and what that sort of sent him back to that, so it's interesting how our surroundings and, maybe where we came from or something that takes us back, not always, good and bad, but
Sure.
just like, yeah, I thought that was
The smell
an
of salt
evocative
water.
thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
I imagine so, for sure.
You don't smell a lot of
Yeah.
salt water in
Salt.
South Carolina, in the upstate of South Carolina.
You're right, for sure. What about, just also just kind of, what are you most proud of in your life? Like, as you reflect on that?
Well, so I'm at a stage in life, next year I will be 50, which is crazy. And also celebrate 30 years of marriage at that time. We've got two
Wow.
daughters who are grown and are just helping people and contributing and just are just unbelievable people. And just to be on
Mm,
this side of that and to see
yeah,
how she and I together have been able to raise these girls, I think that's probably what I'm most proud of, just who they are as people.
very cool. Yeah, yeah. You guys have obviously play a huge role in helping shape them. Yeah, it's huge. I love, hearing about when I've heard updates, of what they're doing and, like you said, how they're contributing to the world. It's amazing and very cool. So, kind of a wrap up question. You're someone that I'm inspired by. I think in many ways of, just the things you create, your outlook on life, the way you counsel people and mentor others and kids and all your work, which we didn't even get into there. So that's another episode, I guess. But where do you find your spark for life?
Um, well, with around other people, as I mentioned, I'm very much get a lot of energy from people, but spending time in prayer and reflection and reading, um, morning, is part of kind of a North Star for me. Um, but
Mm.
also, as I say, just kind of surrounding myself with people who who speak into my life, who I care a great deal about, who I get a lot of energy and inspiration from. I know a lot of people who are just amazing people, just do incredible things in this world, and that's great, and it helps me, and it gives me a lot of
Yeah,
energy. Yeah,
I love that. That's well said. I can really relate to that too. Of like, yeah, being surrounded by people that at times you're like, wow, this person's my friend, or I know this person, and it's amazing what they're doing, and like, it kind of has that ripple effect, or very cool. So yeah, well, thanks for hanging out in a long conversation that I thoroughly enjoyed, and just yeah, talking life, learning more about you and all you've experienced and your insights.
good times. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Until next time. Hope you enjoyed the episode today. Check out the show notes for any links or resources shared in the episode. If you enjoy the podcast, it would be really appreciated if you'd subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with friends. May we all remember these words from writer Mary Oliver. Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it.